Welcome to EXO Fleet's Insights, where every mile counts. The podcast where fleet data turns into real-world decisions. Each episode, we unpack what's really happening across mixed fleets, fuels and sites, and how better insights leads to better performance, lower costs, and fewer surprises on the road. So let's get into it.
Welcome, everyone, to Powering Sustainable Future, the StarCharge and ZeroMission partnership. I'm your host, Eduardo Espinal, Head of Sales and Partnerships at ZeroMission. Today, we're incredibly excited to dive into a partnership that truly embodies the spirit of innovation and sustainability in the rapidly evolving electric vehicle charging landscape. I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Jonathan Schofield, the Sales Director of StarCharge. Jonathan, thank you for being here.
Eduardo, thanks for inviting me. I too am very excited about this partnership. As you indicated, the market is rapidly evolving, and I would say one of the segments of that market that's going to see some of the most rapid growth and changes is going to be fleet. Eduardo, you and I have talked a little bit about fleet being a pretty broad term, and it touches a lot of different spaces within the electrification. And so it's exciting to talk a little bit about how your products, your solutions can fit with our solutions, and we create an ecosystem that really enables fleet managers to feel confident about electrifying their fleet.
Awesome. Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that you mentioned there. You know, one of the things that I saw immediately after we spoke is the how well established StarCharge, over 2 million EV chargers deployed globally. And with our focus of integrating data services for zero-emission transport systems, tell me from the StarCharge perspective, what specific aspects of the zero-emission mission values particularly resonating with you, and were there key drivers in forming this key partnership?
The EV charging industry has been around for over a decade, but it was very nascent for a while. And in the last 5 years, we've seen it grow quite rapidly. And anytime you have rapid scaling like that, you're going to experience growing pains. And a number of the pains that have been experienced have both been on the customer user end, as well as those who own and operate chargers. And being a manufacturer of EV charging equipment, we're very familiar with some of the challenges that arrive from having an asset base that's spread out geographically. Some of them may be near cities, but oftentimes they're on stretches of highway that aren't easy to get to. And because of some of the frustrations that both drivers have had, as well as those managers of those assets, anything that we can do to help facilitate a greater understanding of that asset, how to leverage that asset. And I think one of the places where ZeroMission does this really well is, how do you understand utilization and how do you plan for future growth? Infrastructure projects are expensive. The industry has had the term future-proof for a long time, or future-proofing. And it's a complicated term to try and execute on, because you need to look at your capital expenditures against what you can get for an ROI. And maybe it makes sense to add some additional power capacity now, because you don't have to go through a utility permitting process in the future. That site might not be great. And so with ZeroMission, really the granular data that you guys are able to provide to asset managers, it's really going to enable people to make more educated decisions about where they spend their money. And that is one of the reasons that I'm excited about this, because when asset managers are better informed and then better decisions, they're going to be happier. And then it allows us to support them as they go out there and build out their infrastructure.
Yeah, it's so true. And I really see the shared commitment on both sides to the zero-emission future. Really, to me, that's at the heart of this partnership. And building on that, how do you envision this collaboration specifically enhancing StarCharge sustainability initiatives or environmental goals?
So we have an ESG program, an environmental social governance program, and there are components of that environmental side that we're aimed at achieving. Oftentimes, those are more of an internal thing. How do we perform internally? How do we improve efficiencies in our manufacturing process? or our supply chain operations processes. With the data that you guys are, that the ZeroMission is able to capture, it starts to change that dialogue where we could look and say, okay, how have we helped our customer base meet their goals? And that's one of the places that's exciting, because as a sales director, and how I'm helping both our sales managers as well as our channel partners go out and communicate the value of StarCharge, if we can educate them how the process of electrification can improve their reporting, their verification, and how they perform for their ESG goals, it creates an opportunity for the whole community at large to start demonstrating this is these are real benefits that we're experiencing. And there's two phases to that, right? There's the carbon emissions, which have to think of from the perspective of part of the emissions that come from a vehicle are easier to understand, whereas with an electric vehicle, you do have to look at what the source is that's providing that energy. And then there's the other component, which are the localized tailpipe emissions. And I think as an industry, we're getting better at understanding the global emissions from carbon, and then looking at that, saying, well, if these vehicles are being charged from a renewable resource, it's better than having a compressed natural gas or coal. Localized tailpipe emissions, which is something that actually has much more salient benefits immediately. When you find yourself in a situation, and school buses are a very good example of this. Children are sitting there waiting on school buses, and the school buses are sitting in a contained area without a lot of ventilation. The air quality there is going to be depleted. Whereas with electric school buses, you will see that immediately. Now, in terms of measuring and verifying that, that's a little bit more difficult. You really need to have sensors around in a localized area. I think over time, we're going to see that take place, and then we'll be able to the market say, look, we're benefiting on the global carbon emission reductions, but we're also improving localized air quality. And ideally, we'll be able to then sort of value that in some way, like there's a reduction in emergency room visits for asthma attacks. And that's something that could be measured and provides a significant value.
If anything you heard today reflects the challenges you're facing in your fleet, get in touch with us today at ExoFleets. We're always happy to talk through real-world solutions. exofleets.com